Hey guys, Liz with the Busy Bee here, back with another great crochet tutorial. Today we'll be working on one of my favorites. It's the Mushroom Granny Square Bucket Hat Crochet Pattern. Be sure to subscribe so that you do not miss out on all the great things coming your way. This hat is so great and can be customized to come in all sorts of colors. You can go with a solid pattern kind of look, or you can mix it up with multiple colors like this one here. You can find the link to the written pattern shop in the description below, as well as more fun projects to follow along with. Before beginning the bucket hat, you will have to have 6 of these mushroom granny squares prepared. The video to complete this entire mushroom granny square is already up on the channel, so I will be sure to put that link in the description for you there as well. So be sure to check out that video first. Have your 6 granny squares prepared with the fun colors of your choosing, and then we can get started on the hat. Okay, so here I have my 6 granny squares done, and now we are ready to go. Here I chose orange for the background, blue for the cap, and white for the stem of the mushroom. But you can have fun here and choose any colors you want. In addition to our squares, we'll also be needing our crochet hook. Today we're using a size 4mm or G6. You'll be needing your yarn needle and scissors, and we can get started. We're going to begin by sewing our squares together to make this main part of the hat. Start by cutting a long piece of your background colored yarn. Here I'm just going to match it back to my granny square, so I'm going to be using orange. Now thread this onto our needle. And for now we're only be needing 2 of our squares. Now we will put our squares together so that the right sides are facing each other, and we will sew along this top edge of our squares here. Begin by locating that first square's chain 2 space and insert your needle directly into the next stitch after that chain 2 space. For this front square, we'll only be going through that front loop. Do the same thing for the back square, but instead going through the back loop. Now we can pull through and leave a bit of a tail. I like to go through the same stitches twice just to secure that first stitch. Now we can go into our next stitch, so only taking the front loop of the front square and the back loop of the back square. Pull through, and repeat this all the way down the rest of the square. Front loop of the front square, back loop of the back square. Once we get to those last 2 stitches, we can go into those same stitches twice, just like we did in the beginning, to secure that last stitch. Now we can cut the yarn. Now we have sewn our first 2 squares together. We will repeat this for the remaining 4 squares. So here I'll just show you one more time. Taking our square, we're going to put it on top of the other one with the right sides facing each other and making sure the mushrooms face the right direction. Taking a piece of our background colored yarn, we're going to locate that first square's chain 2 space and go into the stitch directly after it into that front loop only of the front square. Now locate the corresponding stitch on the back square and going into the back loop only. Pull through, leaving a bit of a tail, and go through these stitches twice to secure that first stitch. Now go into the next pair of stitches, front loop only on the front square and back loop only on the back square, and repeat this all the way down. Now I'm going to finish up the remaining squares and I'll meet you back after I have completed all 6 squares. Okay, so here I have completed sewing all 6 squares. Now we're just going to take these last 2 and make them into one big circle. So with the right sides facing each other, we're going to cut a new piece of our yarn. And just like we've been doing for all the other squares, we're just going to locate that first square's chain 2 space, go into that first stitch after that chain 2 space, and only taking that front loop and only taking that back loop of the back square. Pull through, leaving a tail, go into those stitches twice, and now repeat this all the way down until we reach the next chain 2 space. Again, in those last 2 stitches, we're just going to go through them twice to secure off that yarn. Now we can cut the yarn. And now we're going to go ahead and hide any remaining tails. Okay, so now here I have my tails hidden. Once we're done sewing these last 2 squares, we can go ahead and flip our work inside out. And this is how our hat should look so far. Now to finish off this main piece of the hat, we're just going to crochet a border along the top edge of the squares. So here you're going to be needing your crochet hook and your main colored yarn, and we're going to make a slip knot and then pull it through any of the left chain 2 spaces of the squares. So on the top of the squares, locate any left chain 2 space and pull our slip knot through. Now we will chain 1 and single crochet twice into that same chain 2 space. Now single crochet twice into that next chain 2 space ignoring the seam. Now we will sew and crochet once in each of the next 11 stitches along the top of this next square until we reach the next chain 2 space. Now we will sew and crochet increase into that next chain 2 space. Now ignoring the seam, we're going to sew and crochet twice into the next chain 2 space. So just repeat this pattern along the top edge of the squares, sew and crocheting twice into every chain 2 space and once into every stitch for 90 stitches total. So here we're just sew and crocheting 11 across the top of this next granny square. Sew and crochet twice into that next chain 2 space. Then ignoring the seam, we're going to sew and crochet twice in the next chain 2 space. Now we're just going to repeat this all the way around and I'll meet you back up when this is complete. Okay, so now here I'm just finishing up the border. Once we get back to where we began, we're just going to slip stitch in that first stitch to end off the border. Now we will fasten off the yarn and hide the tails. Okay, so now we are completely done with the main part of our hat, and we're going to be moving on to making the top of the hat. So this part right here. So we're going to need our background colored yarn. Here I'm just sticking with orange and our crochet hook. And for round 1, we're going to begin by making a magic ring. And then we're just going to chain 2, 1 and 2, and then we're just going to double crochet 12. So yarn over, go into the magic ring, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through the last 2, and repeat this 11 more times. Now we can close our magic ring. Now slip stitch in the first stitch of the round to end off round 1. After round 1, we should have 12 double crochet. For round 2, we're going to begin by chaining 2, and then double crochet increase in each of the 12 stitches. So go into that first stitch and make 2 double crochet, Now repeat this for the remaining 11 stitches. Now when we meet back up into that first stitch, we will slip stitch to end the round. After round 2, we should have 24 double crochet. For round 3, we're going to chain 2, and then double crochet increase in that first stitch. Now double crochet once into the next stitch. Now repeat both steps for the remaining 22 stitches. Now we will slip stitch in the first stitch of the round to end off round 3. After round 3, we should have 36 double crochet. For round 4, we're going to chain 2, then double crochet increase in that first stitch. Now double crochet once in each of the next 2 stitches. Repeat both steps for the remaining 33 stitches. Now we will slip stitch in the first stitch to end off round 4. After round 4 we should have 48 double crochet. For round 5 we are going to chain 2 and then double crochet increase in the first stitch. Now double crochet once in each of the next 3 stitches. Repeat both steps for the remaining 44 stitches. Now we will slip stitch in that first stitch to end off round 5. After round 5 we should have 60 double crochet. For round 6 we're going to chain 2 and then double crochet increase in that first stitch. Now double crochet once into the next stitch. Repeat both steps for the remaining 58 stitches. Now we will slip stitch in that first stitch to end off round 6. At the end of round 6, we should have 90 double crochet. Now we will fasten off, leaving a long tail. Now we will be sewing the top onto our hat. Begin by placing our two pieces together so that the right sides are facing each other. Now go into the first stitch of the top of the hat and go into the corresponding stitch of our granny squares, only taking the back loop. Now pull through and repeat this all the way around. So taking the whole stitch from our top and only the back loop from our squares, we're going to pull through and repeat. After a few stitches, we'll flip the hat inside out and continue sewing the rest of the stitches down, just like we've been doing. Now I will go ahead and sew the remaining stitches, and I will meet you back after this is done. Okay, so now here I'm on my last stitch, and I'm just going to go through that last stitch twice to secure off that yarn, and now we can hide the remaining tails. Now we can flip the hat inside in, and now all that's left to do is create the brim of our hat. Here you're going to need your crochet hook and your background colored yarn, and you're going to make a slip knot, and then we're going to attach it to any of the chain 2 spaces on the left of our squares. So go into that chain 2 space, I'm just going to pull that slip knot through. Now we will chain 2, and double crochet twice into that same chain 2 space. Now ignoring this seam, we're going to double crochet increase into the next chain 2 space. Now we will double crochet increase in each of the next 11 stitches down this square. Now we will double crochet increase into this chain 2 space, and then ignoring that seam and going to the next chain 2 space, we're going to double crochet twice. Now repeat this pattern along the bottom edges of the squares, double crocheting twice into every chain 2 space and twice into every stitch for 158 stitches in total. So now I'm just going to continue on with this pattern and meet you back here after round 1 is complete. Okay, so now I'm back, and at the end of round 1, we're going to slip stitch into that first stitch, and at the end of round 1 we should have 158 double crochet. For rounds 2 to 3 we're going to chain 2, and double crochet once in each of the next 158 stitches. Since rounds 2 and 3 are a repeating pattern, I will speed up the video here and meet you back at the end of round 3. Okay, so now here I'm back at the end of round 3 and we're going to slip stitch to end the round. We should still have 158 double crochet. Now we will fasten off and hide the remaining tails. We are now done with our mushroom granny square bucket hat. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial as well. I would love to see your projects and what you have done, so be sure to find me on Instagram, Facebook, or TikTok and tag me there. Also subscribe here and comment what pattern or tutorial you would like to see next. Bye!